Live with you back here on In Focus tonight. Let's look at this now. The impartiality of the National Prosecuting Authority came under scrutiny during arguments made in the private prosecution against President Cyril Ramaphosa today. On this second day of oral evidence, a media statement by the NPA seemingly in defense of President Cyril Ramaphosa became a point of discussion. Friend of the court, Blackhouse Kollective Foundation, questioned whether the NPA remains the correct body with powers to issue certificates of non-prosecution. Newzroom Afrika's senior politics reporter, Ziyanda Ngcobo, starts us off.
Former President Jacob Zuma's lawyers have argued that part of the reason why President Cyril Ramaphosa was allowed to interdict the private prosecution in a civil court is because the law is not applied equally.
There is a sense, whether we like it or not, that the law, when it's this one, it applies this way. When it's that one, it applies this way. And we should, that sense, whether it's correct or not, it should be dispelled.
The friend of the court, Blackhouse Kollective Foundation, argued that the very existence of private prosecutions is to act as a safeguard for the possible bias of the National Prosecuting Authority. It says in this instance, the court must make a pronouncement on whether or not the NPA was the relevant authority to have powers to issue a certificate of non-prosecution.
The National Prosecuting Authority may not be the perfect body to give permission for a private prosecution to happen because of various reasons, including indifference. I'm not going to go to corruption. I don't want to be seen to be accusing the NPA of being corrupt. Please let that be understood. The amicus is not saying that. The amicus is saying private prosecution is a safeguard against a possibility of the NPA being indifferent to bringing a state prosecution against certain individuals, whether it's because they are powerful politicians or business.
But the NPA's lawyers disagree.
Until such a time that the Criminal Procedure Act is amended, the NPA and the various heads of the provinces are the appropriate bodies to issue the certificate.
On this very point, Judge Mohammed Ismail pressed upon the NPA's lawyer about a media statement by the organization which declares that the noli prosequi does not extend to President Ramaphosa before the matter was even heard in court, which gave a perception that it was shielding him from accountability.
You have to, in fact, determine whether you're going to prosecute one of your own. I can't have a family member of mine appearing before me. I have to recuse myself. Here there's a person who is from a high-ranking person from your office, who they sought a private prosecution against, and they need your permission.
But during his rebuttal, Ramaphosa's lawyer moved to bring the court back to their key argument.
The allegation against the president is not that he disclosed anybody's medical reports. And that president says in his letter he regards this allegation in a very serious light. I read the letter to the court. So, with the greatest of respect, there is simply in this world where we read documents, we read the law, and we have to interpret them taking into account the ways that were used at the time, the context in which things were happening, and the purpose of the documents and the provision that the president was ever a suspect.
Judgment has been reserved. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Ziyanda Ngcobo in Johannesburg.